I always say being proactive is much better than being reactive. So we want to be having these conversations, not when grandma falls and hurts herself. We need to be having these conversations when everybody's healthy. And so we're all kind of on the same page. I think it makes it exponentially easier.
Hi, friends, and welcome to Fated to Fabulous, the podcast for women in midlife to come and be seen, heard, supported, and seriously empowered. We are Vicki Kirby, nurse practitioner and menopause specialist, and Kim Lovely, registered dietitian and certified life coach. Together, we have over 50 years of combined experience caring for women, and we're here to help you navigate midlife with confidence and compassion. This podcast is self-funded, so if you enjoyed today's episode, please like, follow, share, and if you're able, consider supporting us through our Venmo. You'll find the link in the show notes and on our website. This podcast is intended to educate and support women, but it is not a substitute for medical advice. If you are experiencing health concerns, please consult with your healthcare provider. Our goal is simple: to help you feel stronger, healthier, and more vibrant, so you don't just get through midlife, you thrive in it. Welcome to Fated to Fabulous. Hi, ladies. Welcome to Fated to Fabulous. So glad that you're joining us today. We have a great topic ahead, and one that we've talked a little bit about before, but we're going to dive into it a little differently and deeply.
Yeah. So sandwich generation, we had a whole episode on that. But today we're going to jump in and do the top part of the sandwich, talk about a little bit more about aging parents. And this one is called Who Will Take Care of Me? Midlife Wake-Up Call.
Yeah.
Because a lot of us are dealing with this with our parents, but it's also something that we need to be thinking about for ourselves.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. I went through it, right? So I talk about that a lot, sort of becoming a caregiver for my mom in a really quick fashion after a fall. And I can say that although my mom did a lot of preparing, they have their plot for when they die, there really weren't discussions ahead of time about what it would look like if she couldn't make decisions for herself, where she would want to be. And so that's why I feel super passionately that it's so important to be upfront and having conversations.
Yeah. So I have a yuck and a yum. So I'll start it backwards. So the yum is that I'm so grateful that we have a platform that we can bring content to women. And sometimes that content is challenging and sometimes it's amazing, but we can help in the broad picture. So this was based on the heels of Dominique Saxa's podcast recently, where she did a clean out the closet. And the point of it really was keep what you love. If you have 3 different pairs of jeans and they all serve the same purpose, let one go. Like trying to sort of declutter your life and how freeing that was. And there was a whole group, like hundreds of women who failed to get that point.
Yeah.
And instead saw it as an opportunity to impose their very outdated beliefs that women, when you hit a certain age, should act, dress, and behave in a certain way. So generally, I don't read the comments on hers because she's a dear friend and it makes me wild, right? And I want to slam back, and that's really not what you're supposed to do. So I turned it into something like, we need to have these discussions about if you have, this sort of old dated idea about the way you should dress based on your age, and you do you, right?
Yeah.
By all means, if you want
to
dress,
perm, you're good.
you want to dress whatever the way you want. Where I take issues when you take your decisions about how women should live and you use that as weapons against other women who really their only intention in their content is to better the lives of other women.
And she is it on a big scale. And it's interesting because we have a smaller scale, and we
experienced it.
We did that post on Girl Dinner. The whole a podcast episode was about ways to nourish your body. But one small piece of it was just that sometimes we don't feel like cooking dinner as regularly. So we'll have cottage cheese and veggies. We were attacked. Some of them were so triggered and angry.
Yes.
you're lazy.
I would glad you weren't my parent or whatever, like really bad. And again, they missed the
Karen.
point, right?
Yeah.
So and I put a picture of myself on Facebook this week, and I did it deliberately because I chose to wear a red bathing suit, and I've never done that before because I've always sort of like, gotta like hide all the gooeys, right? And wear the black, and black is slimmer. And I was like, you know what? No, this is an opportunity of sort of saying, I'm going to be the 61-year-old who lives as an example of what's possible. And I likely will never dress or act my own age.
And you also looked amazing.
I look great, and I am proud of that. Yeah. So I will hold accountable people who use their own outdated ideas to take down other women whose only intention is good.
Yeah.
So,
That's the green monster right there. That's just that's their own stuff.
So the yum and the positive is that we are so lucky that we have this opportunity to provide really good content for people. And if they want to pick whatever they like out of it that doesn't suit them, that's fine. Yeah. But don't use it as a weapon to take down us or other women.
Sure.
I
like your yuck and yum.
Yeah.
Some stats.
Okay. So I'm going to, speaking of 61.
Put on the glasses.
Yep. And our podcast producer, who is fantastic, sitting right here beside me, is doing our lighting differently. So it's a little dark in here for 61-year-old eyes, but that's why my glasses on. Okay. Statistics. 10,000 people will turn 65 today and every day in the U.S. That's amazing. By the year 2030, 1 in 5 Americans will be over 65. That generally just tells us that we're an aging population.
Yes.
70% of people over 65 will need some form of long-term care. So a very small percentage will not need anything. The average long-term care need is around 3 years. And I know from my mom's own experience, it was 6. And we were told that it would be 18 months. So that was very different than what we had anticipated. Women need care longer than men because generally we live longer. So I guess we better start building our tiny houses, right?
Yes, we should. We have a longer lifespan, and unfortunately we haven't had a longer health span, which we're hoping to see shift, right?
Yes.
When I see women in my practice, so when I'm doing an intake, I always ask about stressors, and I have them list their stressors on a scale of 1 to 10. And the majority of the time in this population, I'll say, what are some of your stressors? And aging parents comes up as a topic. So I do have conversations with my patients all the time about, have you started having the tough conversations? Like, what is your parents' plan? Because what right now you're thinking about and worrying about can become a bigger issue for you to tackle in your own lives.
Do you feel like there's a large population of aging parents that don't want to talk about it? It's
a huge barrier. Okay. Absolutely. And so I always say being proactive is much better than being reactive. So we want to be having these conversations, not when grandma falls and hurts herself. We need to be having these conversations when everybody's healthy. And so we're all kind of on the same page. I think it makes it exponentially easier.
Yeah. And doesn't it also allow the person for whom you're having the discussion about the opportunity to tell what they want, right? So
that's exactly it. And so things that I sort of typically say, when they say, what kind of conversation do you have? Oh, do you have a well?
Yeah.
Do you have a living well?
Yeah.
Who's going to make healthcare decisions for you if you can't make healthcare decisions for yourself?
Do
you have a bank account? Do you have any money? Am I listed on your accounts so that if you're in the hospital, I can pay your bills? What do you want? What is your plan? Because if you don't have a conversation, your parents may be like, oh, I have long-term care insurance and I'm going into blah, 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 Rosebriar assisted living. But your parents may look at you and say, I'm living in this house forever and nobody's going to drag me out. Or they might say, we were planning on living with you, dear. And so that's a really, you don't want that to be a surprise. That should be like a really good conversation. And yeah, resistance is a huge, I think, issue that comes up, especially with the older generation. You know, they're in fear. They don't want to think about their aging, right? So there's some grief around that. So I'm fine, don't worry about it. Maybe they feel like it's too personal. A lot of times I'll say, what if you start thinking about us, our generation, starts being proactive about what our plans are for the future? So sort of coming at them with like this is what my husband and I are planning and doing. So it might open up a conversation a little bit more easily.
We experienced that with my dad for years, tried to push him to develop a family trust.
Yeah.
And he resisted for, 25 years, had all kinds of stupid reasons. And but we used to say, you know what, we are so much further ahead than you are. Like, we have a family trust. We have all of these things already done. And I don't understand why you're so resistant about it. Because if we're doing it in our 50s, why are you so worried about doing it in your 80s? Has eventually done that, which is a good thing. But yeah, to your point, if they're not willing to do it, then maybe
you can hit a roadblock, and you can only do what you can do.
Yeah.
But realistically, then you get into a place where if you're not going to have these conversations with me,
good luck.
Then you're going to have some natural consequences potentially. So to frame it in a way that's softer and might land better, having a conversation where you say, listen, Dad, I want you to have dignity and choice always. It's important to me that you have happen what you envision happening. So you'll sometimes see a situation where there's an elderly couple, the wife has dementia, husband's taking care of her, he has a fall, he has a stroke. So in those situations, you say, listen, if something happens to you, you have no choice. Whereas right now we can make plans together. But if something happens acutely, you're going to end up someplace and you may not have any control over it. So that sometimes is a nicer way to frame the conversation to make it a little more palatable.
Versus you dummy, you'll
hard.
get...
Yeah.
I know, you dummy, you're going to get really bad things happen to you if you don't make a decision.
Yeah, that doesn't go over well with our boomer parents.
No,
absolutely not.
No. Give us an example of, let's say you're meeting up with that resistance, right? Like, what would be maybe an outcome that you might want out of a difficult conversation? Like, what would be, because there are some people that, like, I don't even know where to start with my parent. Like, they're just not willing to talk to me about anything. I have no idea. Like, what might be a way of having just sort of that one result,
Well, I think they may not want to talk about it, but when you get into some more specifics of like, hey, I don't know how to pay your Comcast bill. If you're in the hospital, you fall down, I want to make sure. So maybe don't jump into what nursing home do you want to be in?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But maybe start with some of the more simple, like,
that's great.
And so you don't feel like you're controlling them. You're setting it up so that, and maybe even saying, hey, Dad, I want to give you some of our information so that if, God forbid, we were in a car accident, you could help us pay why don't we do this together? So maybe even framing it like that.
I love it about just the basics things.
Yeah.
Like if someone's in an apartment, can you let me know how you pay your rent or what day it's due, just in the event that, you got sick and I had to take care of that for you. That's a great way because it's one small thing and it's an important thing, but it's not a big
thing. It opens
thing.
the door a little bit, and then it builds some comfort.
Yeah.
And then you're letting them do it at their pace.
Yeah.
And then you can get into some of the more meatier conversations that probably feel less daunting.
And maybe just another one I was thinking about too was if you just had a random fall, broke your hip, right? Like you're going to be fine. You're going to come home. You're going to do your rehab and all will be well. But if in that interim, what would be like 4 things that we would need to help you with?
Sure.
That you couldn't do because you were having surgery, right? Like, so maybe even that would lead into it because then maybe you'd learn about, well, this is where their bank account is and this is, they have enough money every month to cover their costs. Like, okay, all right.
Well, because speaking of cost, I mean, that is a big thing that our parents need to think about, but also
we
need to be thinking about. Median cost, I did some little digging here. Median cost of a nursing home, $90,000 to $120,000 a year.
Yeah.
Assisted living, $50,000 to $78,000. That's expensive. In-home care. Yeah. So if you can get these parents to have a conversation with you and say, we want to be in assisted living or we want to age in place, you're going to think about, is your home actually appropriate to age in place, right? Is it like 3 stories?
Like
probably?
Not my house?
Yeah, not my house. My stairs are so scary. Yeah. So that's something that we want to think about when we're downsizing to our next home. Is it 1 floor? But our parents, we need to think, if you want to age in place, is this house okay? But then if you're looking at home care, so if you have the elderly parent who's like, I'm not leaving this house. I refuse to go in for care. They can't financially swing care. And some people say, well, it's just easy. You get somebody to come in for home care. It's $25 to $30 an hour. And it's very unreliable.
Yeah.
That is something you have to keep in mind. That if you're planning on, you're using this agency, they've committed to come in, and you're working, there's a really good chance that falls to you.
That's why my mom went into memory care much earlier than she really had to, was because the home care that was available, it's not that it was terrible, it's just it was unreliable. Like somebody would be sick or not show up or whatever. So it just wasn't terribly, you couldn't guarantee on.
And you have to think about that.
Yeah.
So people will say, oh, my mom still asks if Medicare covers. I'm like, no, Medicare doesn't pay for anything.
Yeah.
If you can get the elderly parents to get to a place where they're willing to talk, you have to find out, like, what do they have? Sometimes it's surprising. I can't tell you the number of people that are like, oh, my parents really probably don't have any money. And you find out they're like multimillionaires. You're like,
I've heard that story recently.
Yeah. And, so you may see that, or you might see that they are literally living just on their Social Security. So then if they do require care, like a nursing home, memory care, you're looking at, you have to find a facility that accepts Medicaid, and you have to get them qualified for Medicaid, which looks like basically you have to spend down what they have first. And there's a look back to that too. And I always do want to share this with people, because if you have the person that's like, I don't want the government taking my money and all these nursing homes taking my money, I'm going to give it away to all these other people, that they look back if they're putting you on Medicaid for 5 years, and they'll say, hey, why did you give your, neighbor $50,000 or, whatnot.
Yeah.
So those are all like conversations and things you want to think about, again, when everybody's healthy and happy, not when the shit has hit the fan, basically.
Yeah. We're going to turn the lens on us.
Yeah.
Thinking about us aging at a time, to your point, when we are capable and able of having the conversations, and also thinking about what do we want our kids to face as we age, right? So, the questions we have for each other, do you have a will, Vicki?
Yes.
And we do too.
It needs an update because
they do. Things change.
Yeah. The person who we have listed would not be a reliable person to make decisions for us. So we have to make some changes, and you do have to do that periodically. But we absolutely have a will. I absolutely have healthcare proxy, although I do joke with Matt that I'm going to change it to a friend of mine who's a doctor, because I think he, as much as like I'm like, let me go to the light, right? Yeah. He would, if I was 2 cells in a petri dish, he would shock me back to life, because he just loves me. But I don't want to be kept alive like that. So, but that is important. So those are conversations that you want to have. And my family knows, because my kids are like, oh, Mom, we would always take care of you. I do not want you to.
No.
I will never allow my children or my husband to physically take care of me.
Yep.
That is of the utmost importance to me.
Yep.
Again, conversations. Do you guys talk about that? Do you talk about it with your kids?
Yes. We have all of the things. We have the durable power of attorney for finances, and we have a durable power of attorney for medical. And we picked a child. We have 2 kids.
Yeah.
And so the one that we thought was best with money is money, and the one that we thought best with health is health.
Sure.
Right? So they're very clear on it. We have a family trust. So all of the big things, our home, our investments, all of that are in the trust, and both of our kids are equal shares of that. So that part is taken care of. Within the documents has our wishes for medical. So to your point of like, no, I do not want to be brought back if I've had a massive stroke, like, let me go. It's interesting that we talked about having to change, and we've had several iterations along the way. Because when our kids were under 18, we had someone earmarked as being their guardian. And then once they became adults, we were like, oh, well, we don't need the guardianship thing anymore, or guardian. Was that what it's called?
Yeah,
something like that. Or someone that would take them if we died and they were still minors. So that part changes. And I think it probably will change again. Like, I think at some point if there's grandchildren involved or whatever, God willing, then that will change as well.
Sure. Financially, that's another piece. So we've got our wills, but Matt is a financial planner.
Yes. Yep.
And so I think that it is exceptionally important that every couple sits down, every person sits down with a financial planner and really looks at like realistically, when can I retire? How much money will I have in my retirement yearly? What would happen if I required long-term care? Really important conversations. I think it's a blessing having a financial planner husband. And then also he's worried we'll live to be 175 years old and like that we have to have enough money, to live.
Yeah, it was interesting because my financial planner is the same company that Matt works for. And that company in general, they predict your age of death as really old. Like they do push it out there for that reason. This year was interesting when I had my meeting and they want to sort of talk about the plan because I'm 61. So they're sort of interested about like, when are you retiring? So, 70 is sort of my plan. I'm a little different in that I came to this part of my life, the working part of my life later. And so I love what I'm doing. If I were doing what I was doing in the past, I probably
would be like, I'm retiring
I'm done.
next year.
But I like what I'm doing, so I have no intention. But he said, do you want to pull in your husband's financials as well, or do you want to just base it on you? And I'm like, you know what? I'm learning now that it's actually better because things can change. Like I want to know if I, Kim Lovely, can survive based on what I have invested in me. And that was sort of a different thing. I guess I've had friends that have, lost husbands and become widows. And so I wanted to know just me. Yeah. And I thought that was, and I had told Michael, like the gentleman was like, you sure you don't want to, no, I want to know based on me. And then, it's just a different way of doing it.
Yeah, you do. Yeah. And Matt, when he has those conversations with people, he's like, that's great for two of you. What if it was just one of you? And because you do have to think about that.
Yes, because you just don't know. Things could happen.
So challenges that we see in these conversations dealing with not just ourselves, but kind of elderly parents. Stubborn and scared parents, like we listed. That's
I have one of those. I still have a parent who thinks that we're going to want stuff. Like he's holding a lot of stuff. Yeah. Dishes and Hummels and all of that stuff. And I don't think he would be ready to have a conversation about decluttering his place.
Does he talk about his health stuff?
Yes. I am the care of his health. I forget what it's called in Canada. It's got a different term, but that's what I am. Yes. Fortunately, he at 91 is doing spectacularly well. He's broken lots of bones and will probably continue to break more bones, but he seems to be able to glue himself back together. The part that we're struggling with is the driving. And
that is a big, that was actually listed as one of our topics.
So let's get into it because I know that like he doesn't listen to our podcast, so it's okay. But here's the real conversation.
Don't you hear it from oh my gosh, I don't know what to do. My dad had passed away last year, and he's like a big, tough guy, and he always would say, you better be ready because no one's taking my keys away, or, rah, rah, rah. Thank God he had a quick illness. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I wouldn't have wanted to be there for that conversation. Yep. That's a tough one. And you have to remember, sometimes it's not just stubbornness. If your parent is having cognitive decline, there is it's very real phenomenon in like Alzheimer's and dementia where they don't know. They don't know their limitations.
Correct.
So it's not that they're just being stubborn necessarily.
They don't know.
They literally think they're fine.
Yes.
So that is a tough one. What I typically will recommend in that is bring in the medical team. Realistically.
But that has, yes.
It's not always because some aren't willing. But
mine keeps getting renewed. Like,
oh, geez.
We keep thinking that because they have to do every 6 months, they have to do an eye exam, and he keep that.
Yeah, it's tough when they keep passing. But like in my mom's case, so the diagnosis is also, we were privy to, because online portals. So I pull up this review summary and of all of her cognitive testing, and they're like Alzheimer's, dementia, and all of that. Should not drive, finances need to be managed, can't administer own meds, can't live alone, all of these pieces. And I... Ring.
Yeah.
Guess who's not telling her this, and guess who is? It's going to be you. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so if you do have a good relationship with the primary care, for example, of your parent, and they absolutely should not be driving, they can't tell you anything, but you most certainly can tell them information.
Yes.
So sometimes it's better or easier, not always, coming from...
It's going to be an interesting one because we already, last summer, my dad had a little crash into a car in the driveway, and I am going to reimburse the person that got whacked. But yeah, I was frustrated because it really shouldn't have happened in the first place. And one family member didn't want to disturb my dad's dignity, right? So it led to this. And so the next time the driveway situation came up, my husband said, "Oh, no, I'll bring your car up. Like, I'll get you on the road, and then, you don't have to navigate all of this." He got out of the car and he said, both back windows are completely not open because he has his golf shirts hanging in the back windows. He just wants to show off that at 90 he still has golf shirts.
Oh.
So that's why he smoked the car, because you can't see anything.
Oh my gosh.
And my spouse wanted to have a deeper conversation about it. Like, he was hot about it. He's like, "You can't do that." And
Well, it's tough because you don't want
But what if it was a
mom
child?
pushing a stroller?
Yes.
And so it is important. It's hard to have the conversations. We have to, like, some people will say to me, "Oh, well, yeah, Nana, she only
goes
drives
to the
during
grocery
the day,
store."
or
Yeah,
she just goes."
yeah.
I'm like, she can still take out a family while she
exactly.
goes to the grocery
Yes,
store.
and I did have the conversation one time with him about driving and alcohol. And I just said, you cannot ever,
no.
not
He
even a
shouldn't be
sip.
impaired. Yeah, he shouldn't
Not
be
even a
impaired in
sip.
the slightest,
Because
yeah.
if you get into a fender bender and they decide to do a breathalyzer on you, I don't know how much alcohol you can clear from a 90-year-old body. I'm assuming it's less.
It's probably much less.
Yeah.
The other thing, when we were talking about things that can come up or be difficult, is what if you have a parent? So some people are like, "Oh, my mom, I would do anything for her. She's the nicest, sweetest little old lady." But some of us don't have that. So some of us have parents who may have difficult personalities, or maybe you had a challenging relationship with your parents, and all of a sudden you're kind of tasked with making themselves in that, where they're making decisions now for and taking care of these parents that maybe didn't take care of you or keep you safe or whatever it might be. So that definitely, it lends itself to this entire other layer of like stress in a season of life that's already decidedly,
I've also
challenging.
found that I've had several friends who took the brunt of the care of their spouse's parents because the spouse opted not to for whatever reason.
Right.
And then, in my mind, I'm like, well, that's not fair. You've got your own end there. It's like,
Right.
that doesn't seem fair.
Oh, yeah, no.
Yeah.
That's really piling on the sandwich. That's just like,
That's a sub
that's a hoagie.
times. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Does anyone say hoagie? I don't think so. So recommendations, things that I definitely recommend when I'm meeting with women, they're so stressed out, they've got all these things going on, is not just to be proactive and have conversations, have realistic boundary conversations. So that may be a place to start. Listen, mom and dad, this is what I am willing and able to do to help you in this season of life while I already have my kids, my career, all those things. This is all I have. So I'm going to be unwilling when it reaches time that you need toileting or you need to go to the doctors all the time. Like that. So being really upfront so it even gives the parents a chance to kind of see, okay, we better do some more thinking about this. Maybe she's not planning on having us move in and take care of us. So just this is what I'm willing, this is what I am able to do, because you can't go down with the ship. So you have to be super clear about it. And then unfortunately, like if the stubbornness you can't get past, there's just going to be natural consequences, and your parents might end up in situations they don't necessarily want to be. It's just there's only so much that you can do. People have free will. Yeah.
So ladies, if some of this was helpful for you today, that makes my heart sing. If you have friends that you might like to share it with, please do. We love our content getting out there. And if you enjoyed our content today and feel the compulsion to support us, we are looking for donations to our podcast so that we can keep it advertisement free, because we feel strongly about that at this point. And so there is a place at the bottom of the show notes to Venmo us and donate to our podcast.
Much appreciated.
So much.
We'd love to continue to give you good content.
Thank you, ladies.